Good one, Chad. We now dive right into the business strategy segment with a panel and two keynotes coming up. First up is a panel on neobanking, asking the question, is in time ripe for Africa to break down banking silos? To shepherd the session is a man of many hats, well respected in the sector, Mr. Ali Hussein, co-founder and CEO at Kipochi. Ali is like the grand master in a chess game. He knows the moves that are about to be made. He knows what is coming next, what is being thought about, and in which direction the play will unfold. Only now that the chess game is in the world of tech, and the players are major companies within the tech landscape. He is a C-level exec with extensive experience in strategy, marketing, new media, business development, startups, and turnaround situations. Ali, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are at that time now when we are starting to get into the meat of this two-day event. With me today is a very interesting panel, and we are really going to be talking about neobanking, what it is, what does it mean for Africa? Is Africa ready for neobanking? Are we ready to rip off the banking walls to ensure that neobanking takes its rightful place in the lives of businesses and individuals across Africa? I have with me a superb panel. Kamal Budabati, who is the group CEO at Craft Silicon. Anne Mudeu, managing partner, Muite Advocates. Lanre Bamisebi, group director, IT Ops and Equity Bank. Aristocrat Courier, who is a fintechpreneur at Quk Unlimited, and Angel Setumo, head of strategy and innovation, Leshego Holdings from Botswana. And I see two Anns, so this is we are already at the neobanking stage because Anne is already sort of cloning herself right in front of our eyes. Guys, welcome. It's a fantastic afternoon today. I am super excited to have this conversation with you guys. We are in a country that is probably undeniably the birth of fintech in Africa. Then we have across Africa players in Nigeria, players in South Africa, players in Egypt, all focused on neobanking. Some of the reports that we are seeing coming out of the technology space is that in the last 3 years, Africa has sort of attracted billions of dollars of investment into the tech ecosystem in Africa. About 50% or more of these investments are in fintech. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to, with the help of you guys, try to unpack this conversation around what neobank is, what does that mean for Africa, and how do we move forward in the next 5 years or so. So without further ado, let me introduce my panelists. Let me start with Kamal. Kamal, you have been in this technology space building tech ecosystems for microfinance institutions, banks, and all that. Kamal, please spend about 2-3 minutes. Give us a brief about yourself and your organization and your opening statement on how you feel neobanking is progressing across the continent. Kamal, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ali, and everyone on this panel, as well as the people listening to this session. So good afternoon. So my name is Kamal. I founded a company called Craft Silicon. Craft Silicon provides solutions into the finance vertical. We provide solutions for banks, microfinances, payment gateways, all the way up to the products and the software required to run a neobank. We also run another company which is part of Craft Silicon called Little. Little started as a ride-hailing company, but then later got into deliveries and now into the payment space. Little has now close to about 1 million customers, and we currently Little operates in several African countries. That's Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, now getting into Ethiopia. In terms of Craft Silicon, we also operate in several African countries, both operating in Africa as well as a couple of countries in Asia. So with that, I think just a short remark as we get into this discussion. In my view, neobanks, something very simple, are just banks that are run by people with a different mindset. And I think that opens up a lot because the mindset is something that's playing a very critical role when operating a normal bank versus the bank of the future. With that, Ali, back to you.
Now come back to you on that specific statement. What is interesting is that you didn't even mention technology. You mentioned mindset. So we'll come to that. Next on the line is Angel. Angel is logging in all the way from Botswana. Angel, as you sort of introduce yourself, talk to us about your experiences as a microfinance organization that operates in a number of African countries. And where do you think the jump would be to move Leshego from, a normal microfinance institution to a full neobank? Angel, over to you.
Thank you, Ali. Good morning, everyone. Actually, let me say good morning from a warm and sunny day in Botswana. It's been very cold in the past couple of days. I am Angel Situmo, an innate strategist, innovator by day, and definitely innovator by night. I work for the Lesego Group, which is a multinational financial services company, as Ali alluded to, with an 11-country footprint in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, our purpose at Lesego is to improve lives, which also happens to be my ikigai, my life purpose, which I relentlessly pursue to deliver through innovation and digitalization. Now, with digitization and digitalization at the top of our strategic agenda, we would be inept if we were not exploring neobanking. Having said that, the future is definitely when neobanking is concerned. Consumers and business alike have become so sophisticated and will no longer accept the bare minimum from financial services. Customers basically expect impeccable user experience, convenience, which speaks to service, as well as a freemium pricing model, as in very, very cheap. These three are the top reasons why the gig economy workers and millennials switch from traditional banks to your online and mobile banking options. Now, zoning Africa specifically, we have a handful of digital-only banks, more or less around 10, compared to around 250 globally. And this presents an enormous opportunity, given that Africa has the largest unbanked population, more or less around 66%. It's one of the largest after Asia. The biggest challenge with neobanks is getting it right from a profitability perspective. We have this thing we say in Lesego to say we want to always have a win-win-win, as in a win for the customer, a win for ourselves, and a win for any partner that we partner with. So to Ali's question around how we intend to pursue this, because it's something that we're looking closely at, I will not divulge too much information as to what we're doing at the moment with respect to just seeing how we can play in that ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. And thank you for subtly correcting me how you pronounce Lesego. Great, fantastic. Larry, over to you. As the person who is at the helm of technology at one of the largest banks in Eastern Central Africa, probably the largest bank in Eastern Central Africa, Equity Bank. Give us, a small introduction about yourself, how Equity is navigating the whole conversation around neobanks, and how the incumbents are potentially disrupting the disruptors. One of the things that I find super interesting whenever I read the latest investor report from your CEO is the thing that I always find interesting is this statement, banking from something from somewhere you go to something you do. It's something that almost always there over the last few years that I have been reading the investor reports from Equity. How are you moving this huge elephant to become so nimble? Over to you, Larry.
Thank you very much, Ali. And I must say, I'm happy to be part of this session. It's a very good day also in Kenya. It's very bright and sunny, as usually is in Nairobi. Thank you for the prenups. I really appreciate that. Equity is making a huge stride. But before I get into that introduction of myself, my name is Larry Chevy. I work as the group head of IT and operations with Equity Bank, and I also oversee the Neobanking of Equity, which is called Fintech. From where we sit at Equity, we've always believed from the beginning, and that's why you hear my MD, Dr. James, always talking about equity is no longer a bank, and a bank is not a place where you do transactions, but a place where you get your services done. And what we've done in the past few months is you realize that we've kind of removed the word bank from our name when we did our rebranding. So basically now what we have is a tech company with a banking license. And you mentioned how are we navigating with our legacy. I think it's been a long time coming that people have been talking about legacy and blaming everything on legacy. Equity has been around for 35 years. So what we're doing right now is to stop talking about legacy, but move the bank into a kind of state where we'll be able to do, what a typical digitalized or neobanking will do. And just to talk about the topic of the day, which is neobanking, is the time right for Africa? I think the time is not just right, but it's been coming for a while now. And when things start coming together, when even the countries are coming together with the new Africa coalition that is coming on. And of course, we have a very huge youthful population in Africa, which is what actually facilitates broader growth of any industry, not just banking. Trade facilitation is important across Africa. Interborder SME, you can imagine you have a credit score in Kenya with Equity Bank, and you go to First Bank in Nigeria to lend money, and they can assess your credit score and give you credit. That is what we are talking about when you talk about borderless banking, where the border is open and everybody can bank everywhere. And again, there are about over about 500 million. Yeah, that's half a billion unique mobile user in Africa. That's a huge number. And what that means is that we are ready for to rip out the walls around Africa. And I'm excited to be in this summit, and we take the discussion on. Thank you very much, and over back to you, Hadi.
Landry, thank you so much for that. For a moment, I thought that you were in your new data center without any computers yet, because there is a complete white background, clean, completely, but there was sort of a bit of an echo. So I was wondering whether you were expecting some new servers to be coming on board to launch your new neobank. Landry, thank you so much for that introduction. Anne, over to you. I would like you to give us a little bit of a nuance from a regulatory, legal perspective, if you can, as you do your introductions. As we talk about ripping off these banking walls, what will hold us back? Or what is holding us back? Because my next conversation is going to be, do we really have a neobank in Africa? Anne, over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ali, for that introduction. My name is Anne Mutie. I am practicing at Mutie Advocates, which is a boutique law firm specializing in tech and privacy law. I think when we look at this topic from a regulatory perspective, is it the right time? Yes, it is. I think COVID-19 has shown us, it has just proven the fact that we do not need the physical bank to be able to transact. We can do things online. But the regulator is playing catch up and many times is really, really behind what the technology or what is coming out from the tech side of things. So I think for me, from a regulatory perspective now, we need to look into international best practice to flatten the barriers to entry for new players, to increase collaboration, to upskill our regulatory space and also compliance specialists so that we can make this dream a reality. I also think that it is the time for us to also recognize new forms of currency, cryptocurrency, digital currency. That needs to be a discussion in the regulatory space. So in my mind is, yes, the time is right. And there is activities and initiatives we need to do, which we can discuss in the session to bring the regulator and the fintech players together to collaborate and make this dream a reality.
And thank you so much for that intro. Now, last but not least, my good friend Aristarchus Kuria. Mr. Kuria is a banker, as you can see by the way he's dressed, but he's also a fintech entrepreneur. But his background in banking is so deeply ingrained in him, he must have a tie. Aristarchus, introduce yourself. Tell us what the QQ is. Why is that bank upside down? What's up with that? Kuria, over to you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, everybody else who is on this call, the panelists and everybody who's listening. My name is Aristarchus Kuria. As Ali said, I'm a career banker. I've been in the banking industry for about 16 years. And in those 16 years, I championed some interesting stuff. One of the interesting stuff that I championed was at Stanbic Bank, where we lent to, SMEs, Safaricom dealers and agents, up to 50 million Kenya shillings unsecured. Okay. I've also put together what you'd call, a peer-to-peer lending platform. As a banker, banking is about intermediation. So you pick a deposit, you give it out as a loan. So you do what you call match, funding for that matter. So banking actually have what you call credit reserve ratio, which then restricts them to create as much money as they would wish. If it was zero, like it is in the US today, in the Reserve Bank, then bankers have the opportunity to create money, print money infinitely. Okay? Then I'll then describe what we've done at Quick, or the Bank Unlimited, which is the word bank upside down, meaning that this is the opportune time for Africa, with about 500 million cell phones and smartphones coming up, to be able to say, can we have a bank on the phone? Convenience at wherever you be. And at times you do it before you sleep, you want to do a transaction. WhatsApp takes about an hour of your time in a day. What if it was banking? Today, M-Pesa has showed us it's no longer about financial inclusion. It's about financial health. So at Quick, we've built peer-to-peer lending, which is digital, saving and loans. We've built insurance, so you can do your cover for your motor vehicle, for your health, for your travel on the phone. We can do FX on the phone. If you want to buy goods from UK, you can buy GBPs. If you're sending money to China, because everybody's importing from China, RMBs. You can do proper savings goals for your car, for your education that you'd want to pay. You can pay for your bills as bill presentment. And you can have a virtual cards for all that fund to be kept into, one. You want convergence, convenience, and cost. We've had discussions with Central Bank of Kenya. They've given us a consent to progress on what we're doing. So the regulator is open to these kind of discussions. Yes, they'll lag a little bit behind, but we're here to help everybody, move to the next level. Thank you, Ali.
Kuria, thank you so much for that intro. Now, I'm going to pose a question, but as we do that, I'm looking for questions or comments from my audience, and I'm still not getting any. I hope there's no technical issue there. If there is, I'm sure the director who's directing this will get back to me. We've talked about what a neobank is. We've looked at the progress in different aspects. We've looked at what Lesho is doing. Although Angela has told us if she tells us, then she'll probably have to kill us immediately after that because it's state secret. Lanre has talked to us about how equity has moved and is continuing to move. Anne has talked to us about the potential pitfalls from a regulatory and policy perspective. Korea is telling us that we are moving forward, even though we are lagging behind. Kamal has talked about attitude more than technology, which kind of intrigued me because that's a techie right there. So he's not told us, he's not waxed lyrical about the technology, but he's talked about attitude. So I'm going to pose a question to each one of you. Do we really have a neobank in Africa? And when I say neobank, please understand me, I mean pure breed neobank. Complete onboarding of customers without having to go to the branch, without having to wait, you can do everything on either your tablet, your phone, your laptop, your desktop, and have complete fulfillment across the board. Is there one? Because where I'm standing, I haven't seen one. And when you're answering, tell me why we haven't reached that point yet. What are those pitfalls? What can we do to advance this conversation? Who wants to go first? If you don't raise your hand, I'm just going to point to one of you. Laura, you want to go first? Do we really have a pure breed neobank across Africa? Or is that a misnomer?
Okay, so thank you very much, Ali. It's a very complex question you've asked, but I'll try and break it down and simplify it a little bit. A neobank is just a bank that is built on digital, cloud-based, and then, like you mentioned, you can start fulfillment and all the way to completion, all without coming to the branch. We have a couple of those actually. I oversee one of them, which is FinServe. In FinServe, we don't have, apart from the office where the staff stay, and because of COVID, they are not even in that office right now. So basically, we do everything on the cloud. And then we have well over 500 customers. And in terms of volume, last year we moved over about maybe 400 million Kenya shillings. So it's happening actually in Africa. And when you look at our offering, everything is on the cloud. We don't have a bank, and there are so many other neobanks. For example, there's Eversign, there's Cheaper, there's Soul Wallet, Libya. So there are a couple of them. They are coming up and fast and very strong. And what we realize is that there's no reason why we shouldn't have a couple more. Africa has got the capital, we have the human resources, we have the brain, we have the population. So it's the only inhibition would be the regulatory. And for what you notice, there are three ways neobanks can come in. It's either they come in from a banking perspective, so like some of them, they have a bank backing them, so that gives them all the support they need. The other one is they go for the license, which some countries like Nigeria and South Africa are giving licenses. In Nigeria, about 14 or 15 different neobanks, that are making huge trajectory. And of course, you mentioned too, we are getting a lot of investors coming in to support this new brand because they understand that is the way to go. And also, if you look at it, you also see that Africa is ripe because unlike before, if you want to set up a bank, you were talking a while ago about me being in an empty office with servers. You need to buy servers and all of that. But now you just need to subscribe on the cloud, and then you have a bunch of developers, and there you are. You set up a bank. So what banks are doing, like the Bank of America, Standard Bank, and of course our own equity, is rather than trying to move the heavy legacy that we have with our old bank that's been around for 135 years as we have it. We are trying to set up a new bank to frontier ourselves. So, for example, Equity Bank has got Finserv that is serving well over 500 customers, and in terms of match, and we're also doing a lot around moving money, like I mentioned. Just to give you some context, we FinServ had about 279 billion.
A bit out of time.
Okay,
I'll
sorry.
come back to you with your finishing statements. Thank you so much.
All right,
I have one or two questions from my viewers. One of them is quite interesting from Samora Karaoke. What's the role of neobanks in the land of mobile money? I love that question. Will it be neobanks or embedded banking services on top of mobile money? Let me repeat that. What's the role of neobanks in the land of mobile money? Will it be neobanks or embedding banking services on top of mobile money? That is quite an interesting question. Anyone wants to go for that? Kamal?
So I think that question is really, really interesting, and it's right on the point. If you ask me personally, I personally think that and the way I think the world is, not world, but the way I think the Africa is moving and couple of countries are taking up the lead, adding on financial services onto the mobile money has taken a leap over the other one. So I personally believe that that is the approach that I think most of the suppliers and the banks are taking up. And I feel that's what going to take up the lead against the other one.
I mean, look, we are the land of M-Pesa. There is hardly any Kenyan who will tell you they don't have mobile money. So are we, my previous question around do we have neobanks? Maybe I should have sort of nuanced that and asked, is M-Pesa the ultimate neobank? Completely embedded into banking apps. I mean, I will almost dare say that there is hardly, and I stand corrected, there's hardly any bank in this country today that can have a mobile banking strategy without M-Pesa embedded into that conversation. Any other comments on that? I really think that was a very good question. Yes, Korea?
Let me combine the answers for the three questions into one. I don't think moving forward, you'll ever have, full pure definition of a traditional bank as a traditional bank. Either it will have a digital element to it, or it will have a neo banking element to it, or it will have a telco into it. So I think what I'm just trying to say is that the principles of banking will remain, which is intermediation and payments. But the model is what will sort of pick everywhere to bring one piece as a whole. So if I look at South Africa, you have Time Bank, that's a Neobank, digital bank. You have Discovery, Neobank, digital bank. If I go to Nigeria, you have Kuda, you have Cardboard, which transformed from a microfinance into a digital microfinance, which is sort of what's sort of happening here when you look at Branch with the Century transaction. Then when you jump over to telcos, you have Safaricom with M-Pesa, which sort of gives everybody a challenge as to what digital financial services should be without a digital or a bank license, for that matter. So having said that, you come to Uganda, you have Eversend, which just got a license as a license from a traditional perspective as a microfinance, but operating from a digital perspective. They're building lots of things. Ali, we're in the same digital disruption group where we say the card is sort of one of the best in the market. When you come back to Kenya and Africa from that perspective, you have StanChart. And I have lots of respect for StanChart because even before COVID was here, those days when I used to work in StanChart about 7 years back, you'd work from anywhere when you travel across all the markets. So StanChart sort of has 70 microservices on their app. You can, get eKYC, do everything that you've got insurance, you can do treasury bills, you can do wealth. So I don't think you get a model, and you've got equity with an MVNO, which is sort of where sort of things will transcend into. So I don't think you get a pure answer where this is a digital bank, or this is now just a traditional bank, or this is just a Neobank. Then you've got people like us. We've just built together a convergence of many services into one. When you look at out of Africa in China, you see Alipay. Alipay has 1,000 microservices.
Thank you, Korea. Thank you so much. Anne, you have anything to add there?
Yes, I think I quite agree with what Kuria is saying. And maybe just to add, the challenge is really that we need to open the market up to other players. So when you look at Kenya, M-Pesa kind of overshadows the space of neobanking, when we could have other entrepreneurs or other players getting into the space and offering what we would call the pure neobank. So what we have is more of the partnership with the banks, that you cannot really do this without a bank on your own. But can we think about a complete and pure neobank? And that is actually very possible. If you look at what is happening in Asia and in Europe, they've created a path to licensing, a path to market entry, which can be done in this market for other players apart from the telcos and the traditional banks, so that we can also increase the competition and increase the level of product and quality and innovation that we are looking for. Because for me, if the neobank is working, it's working if the underserved, underbanked people are coming on board. But if they are to come on board, then we also need to liberalize the sector. So that would be my additional input.
And thank you so much. Angel, do fintechs have an advantage over traditional financial services organizations? Or has even my question sort of been blurred and sort of overtaken by events? What's your opinion? And since your organization operates across 11 African markets, probably give us a quick overview, a flavor across those markets.
All right. Let me start off by answering the initial question that you asked around whether there is a neobank in Africa. To Landra's point, I believe that it depends on, if I were to take three critical things to look at, is one, end-to-end user experience. Can a customer actually onboard and actually get a service end-to-end remotely and using self-service. Absolutely. To me, that's a core definition of neobanking. The second one, sorry, Ali, you were speaking, I can't hear. But the second one, oh, I can hear you now.
I said 100%. Go on. Sorry to interrupt.
And then, absolutely. And the second one is when you look at full stack neobanks versus front end focused neobanks. Take your examples for a full stack neobank, your Atom, Monzo, and N26, versus your front end focused neobanks like your Revolut and Chime when you look at the international landscape. And being able to differentiate that, even though the other ones are just piggybacking on a banking license and the other ones have a banking license, it all boils down to the customer, what the customer experience. So for me, neobanking, we should always define it based on what the customer gets to do. So irrespective of where the front end is, where the back end is, at the end of the day, can a customer do an end-to-end transaction? So for me, that answers the question you asked. And then on the second question around mobile money embedded into services for a neobank, I think it goes without saying that it's absolutely critical, because when you look at pure neobanks, they operate off a wallet, and it makes perfect sense to be able to integrate and partner with MNOs to be able to offer the utmost best services.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry,
we seem to have run out of time, and I'm already sort of being prompted that, dude, you're taking space that you don't have anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to wrap it up in less than a minute. If you go above a minute, I'll sort of be rude and break you off. Wrap it up in less than 1 minute, and then we'll cycle it back to me. Let's start with Kamal. Less than a minute, Kamal.
So I think my last point over here to make is the ball game in this whole business is customer acquisition. And that's one of the reason I think, especially for Africa, the mobile operators and the players in the space who have customers are scaling up much faster. So I feel that a new player slightly difficult just because of the customer acquisition is not as easy as it should be. Thank you with that.
Less than a minute. Lanre.
Thank you very much. I think just to summarize, the most important thing from is customer experience. And whether new banking is just the way you do the business in terms of whether it's technology or whether it's those are just technology. But the most important thing is how do you as an organization build that culture where you deliver on customer experience. If you do it, everything on the cloud, that's no banking. If you can do it, both brick and mortar, have some other customers that you have to serve, that's also, pure banking as well. So it's all about what the customer wants and how and the new method they are trying to deliver it. Thank you.
Kuria, over to you.
I think for me, the most important is actually research on the customer. First, do your research, take your time, develop products that are aligned to that research, and create a dopamine experience for the customer. Dopamine. Dope.
And over to you.
I think for me is that regulation should support neobanking 2 ways: create an enabling environment for market entry and conduct of business, and number 2, regulations that build customer trust and confidence, data protection, AML, and the likes.
Angel, we close off with you.
Thank you, Ali. For me, the key takeaway or the key thought to pursue is profitability of neobanks. The growth in the customer base has to be commensurate with the revenue. As a closing remark, when you look at the financial statements of almost all the neobanks. It's a very interesting investment. I'll leave it at that. And I'll say watch the space.
Thank you so much, Angel. Let me just wrap it up by thanking all of you for an engaging conversation today, and to basically say the outputs from this conversation today. I heard each and every one of you talk about customer. I had a number of you talk about regulation and policy. I had one of you specifically focused on attitude of the people who run neobanks or banks. So, guys, this is it. I'm hoping to have more conversations offline. Please go on to the CIO social media platforms. Let's engage on Twitter. Let us engage on Twitter. Let us engage on my friend Frank. Darren always reminds me, the new kid on the block, Clubhouse. Let's engage on Clubhouse, although I'm yet to enter or create a room on Clubhouse. Let's continue to have this conversation. Ultimately, when all is said and done, the customer. Thank you very much, guys. Looking forward to continuous engagement beyond this session today.